Hi NARC troopers, and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something that's been on my mind, and it's mental illness. And I really want to focus on a couple of things. I read something on a platform recently, and it was talking about how futile it is to try to negotiate or talk or to when you're with a narcissist or psychopath or a person with ASPD, antisocial personality disorder, or even a borderline for that matter, and you're trying to make them just see the truth, see realities, just to accept what is going on, what is really happening, and you're really just trying to have them have an epiphany, to see the light, to see truth, and to acknowledge that that you are the one that is has lost control of your faculties. You're the one that is not thinking clearly, because it's like going into a mental hospital and entering a room of extreme psychotics. They are seeing pink elephants, and they think that they are Superman, and they are completely disconnected from reality, and their brains are damaged, not working correctly, and you're in there sitting down trying to reason with them and saying, I want you to understand this thing just one more time. Let me explain it this way. Let me frame it like this. Let me try to persuade you this other way. And they just keep going and going and talking and talking and yapping, and at the end of the day, that crazy person is still seeing pink elephants and trying to jump out the window and fly to rescue people because they are Superman. How silly is that? That person thinks that they can reason and talk and persuade and reach into these severely disordered people and have them suddenly be okay and be healthy. That's irrational thinking, isn't it? That's not ever gonna happen. And yet, many of us, myself included, we do that. We think that if we just say it in a different way, or say it enough times, or just keep having faith and saying prayers and loving them enough, that they're gonna snap out of it, and that one day they're just gonna wake up and be this normal person who can just be all the things they need to be. And they can't. They can't because they're mentally ill. They can't because they're incapable. They can't because their brain is not like yours or mine. Their reality is not like yours and mine. They don't live where we live. They don't experience life as we do. There's nothing about them that is compatible with a neurotypical. Now, part of the problem is that many of us are not neurotypicals either. There's a lot of people, the perfect match, they say, is between the borderline and the narcissist. There's a lot of articles, a lot of research on this, and there's a reason they are such a perfect match, with this shared fantasy and this absolutely off-the-charts romance. There's a reason for that. And they are a great match for, living in crazy town, la la land, going off and creating this bubble of delusion and psychosis that they live inside of. Sure, it's pretty nice place compared to reality these days, especially when you look around at all that's happening in the world. Oh my gosh, it's a pretty yummy place. And a lot of us would do anything to get back there into that fantasy land, because it's pretty sweet when it's working correctly, at least in the beginning. It's a pretty intense, pretty awesome place to be. But let's forget about that for a second, because that was all an illusion. It's a mutual psychosis, fantasy, altered reality that is not real. You've been living in some kind of weird virtual reality, and it's time to come back and to accept that this person that you've had in your life, maybe you've been in love with them for years, maybe you've been together for decades, and you just never gave up, and you just stayed and you stayed, and you're bound to them in the most unhealthy kinds of ways. Eventually it fritters out and it doesn't have a happy ending. And when that happens and you're looking back at it and you're trying to make sense and you're trying to talk to them and bargain with them and beg with them, whatever you're doing, it's not going to work, because they do not experience the world the way you do, because you know what? Their brain, the physiology of it, the chemicals in it, the way that it's constructed, and the parts that are just deficient or missing renders them incapable of being on the same page as a neurotypical. Now, if you too share some kind of disorder, and it's like that's the reason that you ended up with the narcissist or the psychopath, is because you're a borderline or you have dependent personality disorder, which is a cluster C disorder, I believe. It's a thing. You gotta look it up. Dependent personality disorder, cluster C. We spend all of our time talking about the cluster B, but I myself, yours truly, have dependent personality disorder, learned helplessness, early trauma, yada yada, abandonment issues. I have all that. And that's what kept me in my marriage for 15 years with a person who is highly disordered. And any normal neurotypical person would have seen that and run for the exit. But I didn't, because I wasn't okay either. So the difference between them and those of us that are like us, that are not narcissists, psychopaths, or people with antisocial, is that we, even borderlines, when I say we, can get better, can reach a place where we learn through cognitive behavioral therapy and just a whole buffet of treatment, maybe even medication. We can get to the place where we're pretty functioning, high functioning, and we have restored ourselves to some state of health. We have restored our wholeness. And when I say restored, that's assuming that some of us ever had it. It's possible that for some of you who have been in these relationships, you have never had a complete sense of wholeness. You have never lived life without complex PTSD. You have carried your trauma like a cross, like the martyr that you are, and it has influenced every corner of your life for your whole life. I am not a young woman. I know that's hard to believe, because I know I seem very youthful, but I am not a young woman, and I have carried my trauma from my childhood, and I have repeated in a cyclical way patterns of behavior where I attach to extremely unhealthy men who are impaired in a way where they cannot be, they can't love, they don't feel empathy, they don't have guilt, they don't have morals, they don't have any of the things. They're incapable of intimacy and loyalty and of anything healthy. That's right. And so we have to, first, here's what we have to do. Number one, you have to acknowledge that these people are mentally ill. And they're never, ever, ever going to not be. People who tell you that they can cure mental illness, sometimes with medicine and therapy, some different types of mental illness can be managed. But, there's a big caveat, but for the narcissist, for the sociopath, and the psychopath, there is zero success rate. They cannot be cured. They don't think there's anything wrong with them. And they live in a different reality. You cannot reach them. Once again, I think I just said this, but I'm going to say it again. You can't. It feels so real. You think you have real love. You think they are your dream come true. You think it's too good to be true, because it is. Because it's not real. Because they're just acting. It's a role in a play that they're just acting. They're not even, there's nothing authentic or genuine about it. So number one, you have to acknowledge their brains are dysfunctional, broken brains that don't work, rendering them mentally sick to the point they cannot ever recover. That's the first thing you have to accept. Accept it, because that's the truth. There's nothing you can do to help them, to change that. Nothing. You can't love them back to wellness. You can't pray them back to wellness. You can't make a bargain with the devil to get them back to wellness. Nothing you do is going to make them healthy, to make them normal. Nothing. Number 2, you have to focus on yourself. At some point, you have to stop thinking about them. Stop thinking about the narcissist. Stop thinking about that person and start thinking about yourself. How are you going to get better? Because if there weren't some things that you need to work on, you wouldn't have stayed. If there weren't some things that made you vulnerable to what was done to you, then, I think things would be different. And it's okay to say that. There's such stigma around being a victim, being victimized. There's such stigma around having a mental health disorder or issue or something that makes you vulnerable or something that needs to be addressed. There should be no stigma, to any of this. You should be able to freely say, I'm in recovery. I have dependent personality disorder, or I'm a borderline, or I'm, obsessive compulsive, or I have, manic depressive episodes, or whatever. Just like you would say, I have diabetes, I have a heart murmur, I have high cholesterol. It should not be any different. There should be no shame, no stigma attached to any of this. So the number 2 part is that you turn in and you work on yourself. I was resistant to that. I got stuck and hung up on the narcissist, my narcissist. What is he? How did that happen? What can he do? What can I do? What is, blah, 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 all about the narcissist for a long time. It's been over 3 years now since I woke up and I was cast out of the garden and I fell back to earth with a crashing thud. And I woke up and said, holy guacamole, what do I do now? Oh my gosh. So what you do is you accept what they are and let them go. Number 2, you turn inward and start working on yourself. Whatever that means, whatever that looks like, you start working on you to heal your own personal trauma, to become whole, to learn to self-validate, to learn to be alone, to learn to stop depending on other people to complete you and make everything all, rainbows and puppies. That's not how it's supposed to be healthy, to be independent, to be free, to be healthy. You have to go in and take a long, hard look at yourself and ask yourself how you came to be this way. Get the help, get a team going, a team of, everything, a traditional therapist, energy worker, light worker, an exorcist maybe, an acupuncturist, a pranic healer, a chakra aligner, a priest, a minister, a prayer group, whatever. Get your team together and get to work. Get to work. We're short on time here. Time is running out. Did you know? Have you looked around at what's going on in the world today? This is not a time to be weepy and longing and craving like the addict that we all are. That fix, that dopamine hit, that NARC pipe that we've been smoking. We got to stop that, because we are addicts, and there's a reason that we stayed with narcissists and unhealthy, sick people who couldn't love us, will never love us, and who are just so damaged and broken and unwell. Gotta leave them alone. Accept it. They're not okay. You picked a dud. Move on. Let them go. Throw them back in. Throw them back in. And work on yourself. You don't need to run out there and grab another one. You don't need to stick your pole back in the pond and keep fishing. You're just going to keep getting one dud after another, one weird mutant catch after another. Work on yourself. It's like that whole energy thing, about whatever you have on the inside is what you attract from the outside. Those narcissists and psychopaths can smell the blood in the water, a million miles away, and they come to you. and you are like manna from heaven to them, because that's just how it is. You got to fix, cure, heal what is in you so that you're no longer sending off that signal. Come, take me, abuse me. Let's have some really messed up, intense, crazy relationship. Life is too short. Things are too crazy right now in the world to be doing that. You got to stop. Pay attention to the things that matter and to the people who genuinely care about you. Do not ignore them. Do not spend your time craving and longing for a mentally ill person when you have people who love you, maybe your children, maybe your family. They need you. They need you. Wake up. They need you. Be there for them. And stop thinking about the narcissist, the psychopath, the sociopath. Let them go. They are mentally unwell. They're never going to be okay. And you have people. I know you all have people. There's somebody who cares about you genuinely. Go to them. Be there for them. Stop what you're doing and go to those people and be there for them. Be there for yourself. Because we've got some hard things in this world that are coming. Challenges, difficulties coming up. Pandemic's not over. Droughts, floods, fires, climate change, war. All of this, laundry list of things that are challenging and upon us. Let's get healthy, let's get well, and let's be ready for that. Do that for yourself. Do it for your loved ones. Do it for them. Do it for you. And as far as that person that you think you cannot live without and that you're craving them and you can't get them out of your head, I know it's the hardest thing you've ever done. You're an addict. You're addicted to them. But you have to detox. You have to let it go. Because you know what's there? What waits for you there? Death and destruction. You're going to lose everything. And you will have nothing. You will even lose yourself. So run away, stay away, and work on yourself and turn to those people who need you. And let's get this done. Troopers, we're NARC troopers. Let's get it done. Okay, listen to my podcast channel. I'm on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, all of those different platforms. I've got about almost 200 podcasts. I've got great interviews coming up in the near future. I've got, who do I have? I had Robert Torbay from Quora, one of the #1 writers with like thousands and thousands and thousands of followers because he's amazing. He's a borderline narcissist, and he gives us some really insight. And he's on my podcast. I have 2 podcasts with him. And Richard Grannon, isn't he everybody's favorite? Oh my gosh, that British guy, him, he's brilliant. Oh my gosh. And I'm going to do an interview with him very soon in the next, it's already in talks. We're already planning it. It's going to come out in another month or so. So follow my podcast. There are a lot of topics that will help you are on there to educate you and to support you. And read my articles on Medium. And follow me and subscribe. I don't make hardly any money off of this. I want y'all to know it's not about selling you some slick program, some boot camp answer to all your problems. I do think those things help, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm educating you. I'm waking you up. I'm supporting you. And I'm doing it for practically nothing. Do you know why? Because my experience nearly killed me. It nearly killed me 3 years ago. And for about a year, I thought I was going to die. I don't want anybody to ever go through that without understanding what's happening to them or not having any explanation of it or support for it. Right? I don't want you to have $2,000 to pay for some program to get help. Just listen to my podcast. They're free. Just read my articles. They're free. And educate yourself and get stronger. That's why I do this. It's a mission of love because I went through it and it nearly killed me. And I have had a life filled with unhealthy, dysfunctional, mentally ill people in it because of the pattern and cycle of my trauma, of my CPTSD. And I want you to acknowledge that and work on it as I am. It's an ongoing thing. I'm not healed. I'm not magically cured. But I know about this stuff. I do. And I can lead the way. I've got the flashlight. Follow me. Follow me. This way. This way. This way. This way. Yeah, follow me. Because I know the way. I've been through hell. And I also understand this on a very, very deep level. And I want to distill that for you, explain that to you in the best way I can. All right. Love you, troopers. I will talk to you very soon. Bye.